I'm not gonna make coffee. I'm just gonna drink soda. They're standing outside. They're standing outside. Like talking. We will interrupt. It's like 6 a.m. They're standing outside. Or 7 a.m. What time is it? It's 8 a.m. But still, they're just standing out there. Go inside your apartment. So they can hear me because they're standing outside my apartment. Thursday, July 6, 2023. The guy. Go inside your apartment, trashy first floor lady. I'll do a podcast about you. You're so fucking disgusting to look at and hear every day, lady. You want me to do that? Recording in progress. Thursday, July 6, 2023. I fed all the street cats today, but I didn't finish until about almost 5 a.m. Most mornings, I like to have everyone fed and accounted for by 4:20 a.m. I brought extra cans of cat food today, and I'm grateful for the donations that we received. I also brought a large amount of dry food and 4 cans of the good quality albacore tuna. 4 cans of tuna is actually not enough to give everyone a bite, especially now that there's almost 100 cats. I try to give each station 1 can of tuna, and I noticed One Eye, one of the smallest street cats that has only one eye, she didn't look like she got enough to eat. And I began feeding her 4 years ago. Out of all the street cats, One Eye has probably have it the roughest. It rained pretty hard last night in the hours before my feeding, but it stopped right when my feeding started and started back up again a little bit after I was done feeding. Over the past 4 years of feeding these cats, there have been many rainstorms, and I told you about the cat One Eye, who I have hardly ever pet until just recently. I tried to pet her, but every time there's a really bad storm, and each time I rescued one of the street cats and brought them inside, One Eye and also Meow Meow would both come closer to my apartment door and cry, "Meow Meow, help, we want to go inside too, meow meow." They knew a big storm was coming, and despite being almost completely self-sufficient, they're still a part of these cats crying for help. I was surprised One Eye let me pet her recently. I've been feeding her every day for 4.5 years, and she slow blinked me a bunch of times, but she still never let me pet her until recently. I was happy to see the cat Skippy today. He's the orange, short-haired, almost no-hair cat that me and my girlfriend got neutered and vaccinated a few months ago. Skippy is a sweetheart to humans, but he doesn't get along with other cats. There's no getting around it. I noticed fresh scars from his fighting on his head and ears today. At first, I didn't notice Skippy because there was no moon tonight and it was darker than usual, and I feed a lot of orange cats. Skippy finally had to come a few inches from my face and basically say, "It's me! Look at me, I'm Skippy!" I went back out after the sun came up and I gave the brunch bunch a little snack, and I noticed there was still dry food out from my earlier feeding, and before I even put new food down, the kitties got excited and happy to see me, and little Tufa actually started munching on the dry food like I had just put it out. Little Tufa was like, "It's a nice guy, crunch crunch, it's crunch crunch time, let's do the crunchy crunch." I'm grateful for the recent cat donations, and so are the street cats, and I'm happy more people are buying my book too. They're enjoying it as well. I heard it's actually become required reading in a particular course at UT, and that shouldn't come as a surprise because my first book is basically all about UT, the University of Texas. And there have been people throughout my life that claim I am not a writer, but it's getting to the point where that is becoming harder and harder of a claim to make. Not many writers are even capable or doing of writing an essay every day, reading that essay out loud, and uploading it, publishing it every day in less than 1 hour, in less than 30 minutes, for Christ's sake. I'm doing what I do best, and it's gotten to a point where nobody besides God and fate can take that away from me. If I could give a class on writing, I would require every student to write, read, and publish a new personal essay on whatever topic they want daily in less than 30 minutes every single day. That would be the only assignment, the only requirement, the only test. And I imagine most of the essays would not be very good at first. And one of the hardest things for people to do is to read out loud. But what that would do is that would force an individual to improve their writing. It would force an individual to improve reading out loud. And if there's a course on improving your writing or improving anything in life, that's how you get things done. My name is Gregory Brandt, aka Mr. G. Thank you for listening. Everybody, have a great day. For me and my street cats, aloha.
Recording stopped.
All right. Can you believe that those fuckers are literally standing outside my apartment? Not all, my windows and doors are shut, but it's not only me that can hear them; it's everybody else. But I've noticed a lot of people here, they just give up on dignity. They're like, "Fuck dignity, fuck it, we will look stupid." You know, it's like literally, and the trashy woman on the first floor, her kids learned yelling up that strange man's apartment is okay, since that lady's been doing it for 3 years. So she says, and then her kids, she's a fucking boy hitting puberty, he yells up here too. It's like, I don't fucking know you. I don't come with the apartment, you fucking idiots. These are 1-bedroom apartments. Like, what the fuck are you doing? I'm not even your next door neighbor. I'm not even the next floor up. I'm 2 floors up, and they're literally outside. Like, oh, he's famous. You know? Are they watching? Are they watching on my YouTube right now? I should have the privacy to be able to speak in my own apartment without fucking ingrates that can't even barely speak English, yelling and fucking crushing cans outside. Like, what the fuck? Holding babies. Look at the baby. Baby, listen to scream. You know. All right, so back to the podcast. We're gonna talk more about Indiana Jones. That's all I got planned for my podcast. Nobody else can do that shit. I'm just like, we'll just talk. All right. 3, 2, 1. What's today's date? July 6th? 8 a.m.
Recording in progress.
Aloha, welcome to the Mr.G podcast. Today is episode 49, I believe. We might be on episode 50. I do know that today is Thursday, July 6, 2023. It's about 79 degrees here in sunny Honolulu, out on the outskirts of Chinatown. I am Mr. G, Gregory Brandt, and today we're going to be talking more about Indiana Jones. I got the whip out here, my official Indiana Jones whip. And I'm actually really good at it. I was messing around with it earlier, knocking like cans off in the balcony and stuff. And I plan on becoming an expert whip master. Somebody needs to take over the Indy franchise IRL in real life. And obviously, our heroine is not up to the task. But with that being said, the movie is not as horrible as people made it out to be. If you look at yesterday's episode of the podcast, I talk about the psychology theory called expectancy variation theory. And that's when you have a preconceived notion that something's going to be a certain way, and then it turns out not to be that way, and you remember it better than it actually was. So I heard so many horrible things about the Indiana Jones movie. They were just, this movie's horrible. They ruined Indiana Jones. You know, they made Indiana Jones gay. You know, Indiana Jones has Down syndrome. You know, what have they done with Indy? It's transvestite Indy. You know, and it wasn't that bad, and it was just I could say during the movie it was a typical Indiana Jones movie. It was a good Indiana Jones movie in my opinion. Actually, the one thing that they did is they added like unnecessary characters like to meet standards and requirements of like having somebody of this race, having somebody of that race. They added little like propaganda things, and also when the scenes where Indiana Jones is supposed to be the one like jumping on cars, doing all these crazy stunts, you have this like female lead actress in every scene, and she's doing all these like heroic stunts, and it's kind of like, why are we concerned with her? And she's just trying to sell treasure. She's supposedly his godfather. But like, I guess the director, James Mangold, just thought that this character was just gonna be so likable and have her own spin-off series. But that's not necessarily the case. Another good thing that people that like Indiana Jones, like myself, they also like history and archaeology. So the movie does hit that note, I would say, as far as the Archimedes and the Dial of Destiny, and they planned it right, having it come out on the 4th of July weekend. There was even a scene in there where there's like a 4th of July parade. I know it's not the 4th of July, they're supposedly celebrating the Apollo astronauts landing on the moon in the summer of 1969. But there's red, white, and blue, and Indiana Jones is running in a horse through a parade in New York City. But on a scale from 1 to 10, I would give the movie a 7. It's a passing movie. It passes as an Indiana Jones movie. And like I said, the action scenes were really good. The way that they did the reverse aging and made new scenes of an Indiana Jones. The opening sequence, the opening action sequence was good with them fighting on top of the train. You had a good sequence with eels. You had a sequence with centipedes. You had treasure. You had short round, the new short round they call him. And the ending plane scene when they jump out of the plane and they end up 200 years in BC. That was the highlight. But then I don't know if I saw an alternate ending, but then they like wrapped it up in a pretty sad way. And a lot of scenes they also portrayed Indiana Jones like kind of sad, especially the one when he was teaching, because he is a college professor. And being a former teacher, I have always resonated with Indiana Jones, because sometimes I've had classes where all the students were very attentive and eyes on me. Maybe it was an all-female class, and everybody was listening to what I was saying. Then I've had other classes where it's just like ragtag rugrats throwing paper planes, spitballs, and not listening to a word that I was saying. And they portrayed Indiana Jones as the latter. And in earlier films, he was portrayed as everybody was interested. And he was a good teacher too, but I didn't like that scene at all. As far as getting history correct, they really do Archimedes is a character at the end of the movie, and it's kind of strange how Indiana Jones is like, that's like his idol or something. But the actual person Archimedes was an ancient Greek mathematician. This actually, the last fighting took place in Sicily, but Archimedes was a mathematician, physicist, engineer, and astronomer and inventor from Greece. The city of Syracuse in Sicily is where he's from. And one thing about Archimedes is he's known for, he was this really incredible, intelligent man, but he was also an inventor. And there was a famous battle called the Siege of Syracuse. Yeah. Thank you, I appreciate it. But the Siege of Syracuse by the Romans was an actual battle that took place in the year 213-212 BC. The Romans successfully stormed the Hellenistic city of Syracuse after protracting siege, giving them control of the entire island of Sicily. During the siege, the city was protected by weapons developed by Archimedes. Archimedes, the great inventor and polymath, was slain at the conclusion of the siege by a Roman soldier. So they actually, in the Indiana Jones 5 movie, Dial of Destiny, Archimedes is a character, and they actually show the Roman soldier that like is supposed to like kill Archimedes, but Indiana Jones changes the course of history by going back in time, and they somehow travel back to present day, and they don't really touch on that. One of the highlights of the film is that they must have had like focus groups where they asked Indiana Jones fans like, what do you like about Indiana Jones? And then the focus group was like, we like Nazis, we want to see more Nazis, come on Indy, Nazis, you know. And so they just like fill this with Nazis as many times as they can. I'm surprised there's not a swastika on the movie poster. There's this fucking psycho kid that lives on the second floor, and there's like an internet switch or something, because whenever he comes here, the internet just shuts off briefly. and then it comes back on like every time he leaves or comes. So I don't know if there's a way like to like turn somebody's internet off, but I swear it's that kid doing that. I can tell whenever he gets here. Pathetic. But I can do a podcast all about how he's the biggest fucking loser kid who's not even allowed to live here. I could do a whole podcast about how he's the biggest fucking loser young person I've ever seen in my life. And I think I will touch on that a little bit. The police suggested I get a restraining order on him. Cover your mouth. Go inside your apartment, weirdo. You sound disgusting. It's probably because you share a bathroom with 5 people. Clean your bathroom, lady. Still winning. I'm still winning. Aloha, welcome to the Mr.G podcast. This is episode like 48 or 49, part 2, because we're doing 2 today. There's this shitty fucking kid on the 2nd floor who's been obsessed with me, harassing me for 4.5 years. He's not even allowed to live in these apartments. His parents have a 1-bedroom apartment here. And I don't know if there's like an internet switch or a way to shut somebody's internet off, but when it seems like whenever he comes or leaves, the internet just goes off for like 5 minutes. Like he like does something. Like there's like a switch for the building or something like that. But I swear, and the police actually suggested that I get a restraining order over this person. But I hope everybody out there is doing well. I have some crazy psycho kid on the 2nd floor. He doesn't even sleep here. He just comes here every single day and like stands in front of my security camera. He's like made like threatening, things in front of my cameras. It's just like, bro, menacing is a felony. Like I have a tape of him just being like a psycho on my camera. I could have him arrested anytime, but he needs to, like, it's so pathetic. But we're going to talk a little bit more about Indiana Jones. If you look at part 1, I was talking about how Indiana Jones had it accurate with the Dial of Destiny as far as the Siege of Syracuse, which was a famous battle that happened in 212 BC. So spoiler alert, at the end of Indiana Jones part 5, they use the Dial of Destiny, and they're trying to, he's like fighting the Nazis, and there's like this Nazi bad guy, and he's trying to go back to 1939, but instead they don't take into account continental drift. And so at the end of the movie, Indiana Jones is like, continental drift! Archimedes didn't know about continental drift. And Archimedes is a famous mathematician who took part in the famous battle, the Siege of Syracuse. And he actually was an inventor as well, Archimedes. And Archimedes had all these inventions that were used to protect the island of Sicily during the Battle of Syracuse. So that's a historic battle. And when Indiana Jones, there's always a scene in every Indiana Jones movie, because he's a professor, he's a teacher, there's always a scene of him teaching students. So this movie was like the rest of the Indiana Jones movies. And what he's talking about in this movie during the teaching scene is he's talking about Archimedes and the Siege of Syracuse and the Dial of Destiny. But the one difference between this teaching scene and the other teaching scenes from earlier movies is earlier movies like Raiders of the Lost Ark and Temple of Doom, when you see Indiana Jones teaching as a college professor, all the students are very attentive. He has a lot of female students, and they're all listening to what he's saying. All eyes are on him. And the difference now is they make Indiana Jones like this teacher that nobody's listening to, and Indiana Jones is like all passive. He's like, did you guys read the assignment? Anybody? Did anybody read the assignment? It's on the test. And that was kind of lame that they did that to him. And there was a few lame instances of the movie where they added unnecessary characters, and they had like a certain dialogue that was like not just cheesy, but it was just like added like for certain framing reasons. And it's like they had to meet the requirement. Like they had like this like 1970s like Black Power girl, and like her storyline was kind of confusing. Like, whose side was she on? Was she a Nazi sympathizer or something? And then they had in Tangier, they had the female lead's ex-husband or ex-boyfriend all of a sudden like jumps into the car chase. And the car chase was cool. There was like a three-wheeler car. It reminded me of some of the electric three-wheelers they have out now that are really popular. Shout out Asimoto, I think it's called. But Arkimoto. But yeah, Archimedes was a real person, and the ending of Indiana Jones, like I said, they go back to the year 200 BC, but then they all of a sudden ended like kind of like cheaply, where he's like, I'm staying here, and he like gets shot, and supposedly, from what I read, that's how the movie ends in a lot of theaters. I must have saw an alternate version, but Indiana Jones gets shot and dies in 212 BC. I think that's the version in the theaters, but the version that I saw, the female lady's like, no, you're coming back with me, and then punches him, and then he wakes up and he's in a different reality where he's married to Marion, who is like an older woman, and he's like an older man, and they're like a senior citizen couple in New York City, and it's a real sad way to see Indiana Jones, you know. Indiana Jones needs to be riding in convertibles, banging bitches half his age, you know. That's what Indiana Jones needs to be doing. That's what we want to see. All right, you can still have the whip, but Indy, come on, you know, you don't want to like retire in New York City, and nobody's gonna watch a spin-off of that new character. And like I said in the earlier podcast, watching the new girl jump on moving planes from a motorcycle or jump on moving cars, that was like too far-fetched. It's like, whoa, Indiana Jones is supposed to be doing that, and he's just like a background like character, and at times within the action sequences. So that's where they got it wrong. And but overall, you know, if you like Indiana Jones for the history and the archaeology and the fighting the Nazis, then it was good. And you know, I enjoyed it. On a scale from 1 to 10, I give it 7 out of 10. But yeah, Archimedes was a actual person, and it's good that it came out on 4th of July weekend. I kind of went off about my neighbor out there, but he's not even my neighbor. He's my neighbor's kid. Like he's not even allowed here. He just comes here every single day. I guess he's homeless and lives in his car. But the thing is about a car, I remember one 4th of July. It was like 1996 when I was like 15 years old. And I was hanging out with my brother, and our friend Benny was throwing a party, but for whatever reason, my brother Michael wasn't allowed there. And I was allowed there and could have went to Benny's party, but Michael was like, no, just hang out with me. And so we're both 15 years old, he's my twin brother. And so we go to like some like playground area, and like we smoke a little weed or whatever, and we're just hanging out there, and like the fireworks start, and I'm just hanging out with him, and I was thinking like that's the right thing to do, but it was selfish of him not letting me go to the party. But I'm sitting there with him, and he's just like talking about himself, and he's like, oh, if once I get a car, things will be different. All I need is that car. And he was just talking about it over and over, and I was trying to explain to him, well, Benny's party's right there, you know, even if you had a car, you know, things wouldn't be that different. But some people, they just obsess about that. They think, and maybe it has to do with the commercials brainwashing people to thinking that's the most important thing. But you see a lot of young, impoverished people, men, that like lease cars every month, like my brother, stupidly. And back then, you know, a young person, 18, 19, 20, you don't have good credit, so you're going to be paying monstrous amount of interest and fees and insurance, and all for what? Just to look cool, but you don't really look cool. A famous expression is the only people that buy new cars are really rich people and really poor people. And so I see particular people that grew up here, and they grew up in really dismal circumstances, and not even having their own bedroom, not even like having their own space, and not knowing concepts of boundaries, where they yell in my fucking window or think that I'm competing with them or something. But I see them, they lease this car, and they think that's just going to change everything, and like that's just going to give them so much freedom and so much everything, and it's kind of sad, because and it changes their personality, and it does improve confidence in people, I suppose, but it's the wrong kind of confidence. And that's why you see so many people having road rage incidents. A completely normal person that would never get upset or lose their cool, that you put them behind a 2,000-pound automobile, and that somebody upset peeves them off, and they're like a fucking madman, like willing to go to any extreme to fucking a stranger, like even if it's like a little guy, big guy. You cut me off, I will fight you. It's like I will roll around in sweat and get in prison for you, stranger, stranger that I don't know. It's like, what the fuck, like, like who, when you think logically, which they're not doing at that time, but you put somebody behind a 2,000-pound automobile, and some people, usually always men, they just become empowered. Maybe it's like small penis syndrome or something, but like I said, my twin brother, he doesn't have a small penis, from what I hear. All right, I don't look at my twin brother's penis, but there has been times, Look, I'm not a big fan of penises at all. Anytime I've seen penises, it's been like a traumatic experience. It's been like in county jail or like boot camp or something. And penises, they look like aliens. They're like one-eyed creatures. Like every time I see a penis, like, what the fuck is that? What the hell is that one-eyed motherfucker? Oh, it's a penis. I got one too. Yeah, but mine is like nice and tan and thick. I actually have a very attractive looking penis, so my penis is like the Brad Pitt of penises, but yeah, why are we talking about penises? How did we get from Indiana Jones to penises? I don't know. Oh, okay, yeah, people that lease cars. Like I said, the only people that lease cars even are really rich people or really poor people. And I see some really poor people that live around here that grew up here and that think that having a car is going to change everything. And you could tell how their confidence just changes, where they talk so much shit and they're willing to like move their car and like speed out, and like it's like, whoa, you watch too much TV, like you actually look ridiculous, like I saw one of the kids, his mom was like walking to work at like 4 a.m. in this neighborhood, and I'm like, what? Like, I don't even walk around at 4 a.m. in this neighborhood, and you have a car and your mom's walking to work. I remember once when my mom, I would never let my mom walk to work. If I had a car, I would give her a ride. The one time my mom was in a bad neighborhood in the summer of 2003, and near at the Warren Inn, I remember me and my twin brother joking about how our mom, she was having mental problems at the time, but she was like our kids, like we weren't going to let her walk around the neighborhood alone. We had to like walk with her, like for safety measures. And so, like, how well are you doing? If you're not allowed to even sleep here, you come here every day, you harass the single white man just living here by himself, doing his own thing. Like, it's pretty scary that like the nature and nurture, the nurture of somebody growing up in that environment, it's kind of sad. Like, what, are you gonna have friends over here? This is where you spent every Christmas, every birthday, and this like dirty parking lot, trash-filled industrial area. This is your neighborhood. I heard them lighting off fireworks on the 4th of July. It's like, hey, Ala Moana Park is like 2 miles that way. Like Kapiolani Park, they got big fireworks shows. You're not like hiding in an industrial area apartment, and not even hiding where they don't tell anybody their names or their age. Like, I've lived here 4.5, almost 5 years, and the majority of people are afraid to tell me their names from day one, and that includes their kid. Why are they afraid of saying their names? Are they, here illegally or something? My name is Gregory Brandt. I'm not hiding anything, but yeah. So the Indiana Jones movie, on a scale from 9 to 10, like I said, probably a 7.5. So this is part 2 of today's podcast, and this is coming to you from the outskirts of Chinatown, where it's probably about 80 degrees right now. The Mr. G podcast, it's available wherever you listen to podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and full episodes of the Mr. G podcast are uploaded in their entirety to Twitter, YouTube, and Spotify. You can follow me on Spotify too. I'm not going anywhere. new episodes every day. I hope all of you have a wonderful day, and I hope you liked my little dick jokes. I got some big dick jokes too, but I hope you guys liked practicing my comedy act on that. All right, everybody have a great day. Check out my TikTok videos of me feeding the street kitties, and me and the street kitties. We bid you mahalo and aloha. Thank you very much. You know who, Mr.G. Aloha.
Recording stopped.
Ha ha.